Good morning, everyone. In the last section, we are discussing with the Springboard integration, and we identify some of the advantages when we are trying to work with the Springboard here. Getting the point. And finally, we created simple application to integrate with the database here. So what is the application we created here? And here, so we are trying to work with some reading related application here. So these are the field we are having. With help of this particular field, we are trying to store and get the data from the database here. Okay. And in the previous example, so we used to connect with the H2 database here, but we did not configure any so H2 database related configuration here. Now what we will do, we'll try to connect with the H2 database configuration here. So to configure, first we need to write Spring data source. Here we need to provide the data source URL. Correct the point. So here we need to specify the URL. So this particular URL we need to connect with our H2 database. So after this we'll connect with our Postgres database. But now observe, to connect with H2 database here. So this is the URL we need to provide. So JDBC colon so H2 colon, and here the particular localhost I am trying to give as a MEM and testdb. Getting the point. So this is the particular URL. So JDBC H2. So however, basically we'll connect with the JDBC colon Postgres localhost and name of the database how we are going to provide. Same in the H2 database, we need to provide this is the name of the test database and the localhost we are providing. So the instance we are having H2 database. So in that way, we'll connect with the Postgres here. And we need to provide driver class name. So Spring data source dot driver class name. What is the driver class name we need to provide? The driver class name here we are having org dot h2 driver. org dot h2 driver here. And here, so data source dot username. So username I want to give username only. Password. Correct the point. So username and password I want to give same password here. And finally, now what we can do here, we can go for dilate here. Here we need to provide the dilate. So what is the use of this particular dilate here? It will generate the database specific queries here. Now if you observe spring dot jpa dot, here we can go for the database platform. Now org hibernate dot dilate dot h2 dilate. And spring jpa hibernate ddl auto. So we'll try to create the data. Okay, table and everything we are going to create. And finally spring.jpa show SQL. We can make as a true. And switch to console we need to enable. So these are the sections we need to enable here. If you observe carefully, Up to this, we already discussed here. So we don't want to discuss more about this because we discussed in the Postgres database. So the configurations are same, but the information we are providing the different for the different databases, but like a key is same here. Like we are going to work with name of the URL, so driver class name, username, password, and dilate here. Getting the point. And only the changes here, we are trying to enabling the particular H2 console. So to check with whether how the data is inserting, we need to connect with this particular console here. Now, if you observe, I want to start this particular service here. Once this particular service is started, now what we can do? Now you can see here we are having some information here. So drop table if exists book here. And here we are creating sequence here. And what is the table is created? Book table is created. So where it is created, how we can check here? So here we need to go for the particular H2 database. So where it is available here, now you can see H2 console available at H2 console. Getting the point. And what is the database we are having here? So this is the particular database we are having. This is the database we are having here. Okay. Now what I will do, I will connect to this particular H2 console here. So localhost here, H2 console. Now you can see, we're able to see. So this is the username and password for our H2 database. Now what we can do here, username and password. If I'm going to give, it is giving an error here. So not found the connection here. Let's see. So username and password. What happened here? No. So it is failing. Let me. Okay. So what is the driver class we are having and H2 test? Okay. Now observe. Here we are having the particular table here. So what is the table we are having here? Book. So where it is available, now you can see these are the IDs, ID, author, description, and reader and title. And below one it is a indexes. Like so how we want to insert the data, we created indexes and sequences here. Getting the point. Now you can see. So as of now, we don't have a data in the database because just now the table is created. Okay, we are trying to load this particular object information. The data is not available in our database here. So no problem. Now what we will do, we'll try to insert the data. So to insert the data, first what we can do, again, I want to connect localhost with the test here. So present, we don't have any books here. So if you see, if I'm trying to clear this particular console, here, we'll try to find out the select queries and insert queries here. Okay, now what we will do, so just for understanding the random information I'm giving here, and core Java book. Right, now we will see here, insert into book this particular values here. Insert into book this particular, so columns and values. Now what we will do, we'll try to go to here, H2 console database here. select star from book here. We'll try to run this particular book. Now you can understand here, ID we are having one, author we are having Java, so description, core Java book, ISBN, and the reader we are having test reader. Getting the point. So the reader we are having test reader and title here. And the book title we provided as a some Java full stack training here. The random information we provided. Now what I want to write here, I want to go for the different user call Java. Different the reader, sorry, not user, different user. Now what we will do, we'll go for the we'll go for the this particular title. So Java books and author here and so Rod Johnson I provided here some different ISBN I provided different and description and so Spring and Springboard example. Right, now you can see if I'm trying to click this, so we are able to get the description and name of the particular title, so which is implemented by this particular author, and this is all about the particular ISBN and description. Now what we need to understand here, if I'm going to run, now you can see secondary record also is inserted into this particular table called book table. Getting the point. So this is very important. We need to understand here how we are connecting with the database and how we are trying to show the data here. And here now you can see reader we are having Java. So how we are providing the reader with help of this particular, like whenever we are trying to send a request, with help of the request to, we are trying to make the particular request as a reader name here. Getting the point. Now you can see here reading list to resource. So basically in the HTML, just we made condition here. This condition we made, but we did not provide the text field here, because if you see here we provided all the text fields here. So if this particular description is available, but we need to show this particular text field here. Whatever the value we are having, the value we are going to show inside this particular text field. So this line of code we missed in the yesterday class here. So this section of code I added here. So other than this, so everything which we implemented in the yesterday only. And now if we observe, coming back to the reading list resource here, now what we need to understand here. So we are getting reader as a dynamic value. We are getting reader as a dynamic value. So based on this particular dynamic value, now what we are doing here, we are trying to load first, and after loading, we are able to provide the add button here. So inside this particular add button, now what we are doing here, we are making the post request with help of this particular reader. We are setting to the reader and we are saving into the repository here. Getting the point. So this is all about the H2 database connection, and this is the way we can connect with the multiple applications here. So whenever we are trying to adding the multiple records, here we are going to see all the record information here. Here we are going to see all the records information here. Now if I want to connect with our Postgres database, if I want to connect with our Postgres database, now what are the changes we need to write here? Only first we need to configure here how we configure the H2 database dependency. Same way we need to configure our Postgres jar here. So once the particular jar is available, and we can change this particular properties information. Only these two are the changes we need to provide. So okay, now you can see what we can do here with help of this particular database configuration. We can communicate with the applications here. Right. So this is we understand here. But now what we will do with the help of this particular auto configuration. Now auto configuration we identified. I don't want to work with auto configuration. So if I want to connect with if I want to configure with manual configuration here, what are the changes we need to write here? What are the changes we need to write here? So for example, first what we will do, we'll connect with the same application, our Postgres database here. And here to connect with the Postgres database, first we need to add a starter. So Postgres SQL driver here. What is okay? Here we are having dependency org Postgres. Make it inside this particular form.xml and finish here. So once it is update this particular Maven here, what we will do, we'll try to go to the form.xml again. Here we need to comment out this particular H2 database because we are not going to work with the H2 database here. We are trying to work with the PostgreSQL database. Okay. Now understand here what we can do. Here we need to write the Postgres database configuration. So to write this particular Postgres database configuration, we need earlier what are the database configuration we used here. So those configuration I am going to use here. And so I will copy this or the configurations here. Right. Now what we will do, we'll try to change our configuration here. To change this particular configuration, what is so dilate we are having. And now if you observe, so these are the configuration we provided for this particular Postgres database. And now you can see in the Springboard, so hibernate.dilate. We are not using hibernate.dilate here because we are having the naming convention here, Spring Data Source URL something. Okay. And here I want to provide Postgres dilate here and driver class. So this is our driver class here. And URL we are having this. Username and password. Finally, we'll go for the update here. So basically, so just now I explain, dilate is basically it will try to generate the database specific queries here. Because we are working with the S2 database, we are going to have like syntax is little bit different here. And whenever we are connected with the Postgres database, we are going to have the syntaxes are different here. But how this particular syntaxes are going to generated here based on this particular dilate here. And so show SQL true and default schema. Let's say, so what is the default schema we are going to have? So JPA dot database platform, data source initialization, default destination. Okay, so now data source dot maybe this tag is not available here. Spring dot SQL dot init schema location instead of computing. Okay, so we'll try with the schema locations here. Basically, we connected with the HB schema here. Now, the same application I'm going to run. First, what are the changes we made here? We comment out the H2 database here. We enable the Postgres here. And we provided the Postgres related some configuration. Now, I'm going to run the same example here. So, if you see, if I'm going to run the same example, so what we are expecting here? Sorry. So no schema script to fund for this particular HP. Okay. So it is expecting location here. So this is not the particular proper one here. Data source, schema username and resource. SPM dot resource mapping resource and show a scale. Okay, so we'll identify later here. So what is the particular tag we need to use for the schema information here? Now you can see the table is created. Where this particular table is created here? In our Postgres database here. Now, so to run this particular Postgres database, first we need to check whether the data is created or not. Sorry, the table is created or not. We need to understand here. Now, close this. So table is created with help of the ID, other, description, ISBN, reader and title. So far we don't have any data here. Now to insert this particular data, now what we can do, again I need to connect with this application here. So title, some information I want to provide. Getting the point. Now I want to click submit here. So we are getting an exception call 500 error we are getting here. So why we are getting this particular 500 error? Let's see what we are missing here. So Hibernate sequence is not exist here. Okay. So basically the sequence we are using with the help of the schema here. Okay. So in this case, now what we will do, so how to define the schema in Springboard. What is exactly the tag we are missing here? We need to identify it. So why they are not getting this particular tag here? Let's see whether we can work on the same or not. Yes. Now you can see jp properties dot hibernate dot default schema. So this is we need to use here. So I'm going back to the our main application and I will try to click on one more time. So still it is not taking. Now what we need to do? So we need to restart our application here. Here instead of update, you can go for the create here. Right. So HP book. So the table is created with help of this particular schema called HP book here. Okay, now what we can do, so we can run here. For example, if I'm going to run, so there is no table here. Okay, so the table is still available in the book. Okay, now you can see we are having two tables here. In the public location, we are having one table called book here, and now you can see in the schema location, we are going to have book here. Getting the point? Now you can see here also we are having book, and here also we are having book. So earlier, without this particular schema, we created the book, and with help of this particular schema called HB, so one more table we created here. Getting the point? So don't confuse it. We are having two tables here. Okay. So anyway, now what we can do here with the help of this particular application, so we can refresh here. So present we don't have any data here, and some information I want to provide. Let me clear this particular console. So we'll try to click on the submit here. Now you can see, so the whatever the information we store here, with help of those information, we insert the data, and we selected the data. Now you can see, so sequence we are getting, and we insert the data, and we are selecting it. So why we are selecting it? Because now what we are doing is we are trying to return the getting the point. So we are trying to return same application here, but only the difference here, with the help of this particular information we are loading. So this second section we are storing it, and redirect to this particular reader here. So redirect to this particular reader here. And here, whenever redirecting into this particular, again, this particular method is going to call. Get method is going to call, and it will try to load the data from our database here. So this is the two queries we are having to load the data. Now, what we can do, first we'll see any data is inserted. So there is no data. Now what we can do, we will go for the HP. Now you can observe with help of this particular schema, the table we created, now we are able to see the data. Getting the point. So what is the advantage we are getting? If I want to create the two table with the same name, how we are going to differentiate? With help of the schema, we are going to differentiate here. So now just we identify, so HB book we are having the data, and if I'm not using this particular HB, there is no data. Getting the point. So this is the way we can store the data, and we can fetch the data from the database, and we can show into the UI pages. Right. So this is all about the simple example on the Springboard to connect with the database. The same example, if I want to connect with the application in our Spring, so what are the changes we need to write here? First, we need to configure the mapping document, and later, what we need to do, we need to provide the configuration file, and we need to create our classes. With help of the classes, we are going to work with the mapping file, and now we'll run the application. If anything is failed, so we need to identify like what is exactly the exception we got. But if you see in the Springboard here, so based on the implementation logic, so whatever the logic we are going to implement, so based on the particular implementation logic, we used to get the exception, but here we're not going to get most of the configuration exception. Getting the point. But here the problem, whenever we are trying to make what we can call it as a manual configuration. So in this case, we may get multiple exceptions here, right? So we'll try to understand what exactly the multiple exceptions we are going to get here. Okay, now understand here. First, we'll add a Spring starter, security starter here. With help of this particular security starter, we'll identify like how we can work with the manual configuration here. First, I want to add this particular automation security here. So Spring security I want to add. In the pom.xml I want to add. Let me click on this particular finish here. Right. So it's trying to download this particular source here. Now you can see it is downloaded the particular starter information. Now what I will do, I will click on this particular application. So if you understand carefully, just we are adding the particular starter here. Whenever we are adding this particular starter, now if I'm going to refresh this particular application, now what you are understanding here? So he's asking username and password here. He's asking username and password here. So what is the username and password we need to provide? Basically, so this section of code, if I want to implement in the Spring, what are the changes we need to write? So we need to provide the HTTP configuration auto, and the particular form login we need to enable, and we need to connect with our in-memory authentication, getting the pen. So these are the basic steps we need to provide in our Spring application. So we identified in the previous section how we can work with XML configuration in-memory authentication, right? So this we need to provide here. And what is the username and password we are having? So this is the particular password we are having here. And for this particular password, we are going to have username, something like we need to find out the maybe username. We are going to have, I think, username. No. I guess admin. Not. I think user. Yes. So user is the default username, and the password which is we are getting from our console here. So this is the password we need to provide. But now what you understanding here? So just we added the particular starter here. Just we added the particular starter here. We are getting the default configuration here. But if I want to add those configuration here, now what we need to write here? So what we need to write here? Let's see what we discussed in the earlier section. So this is the file I'm having here, for which we discussed in the previous sections. Now you can see application server is not yet started here. I'm trying to run the same example here. I'm trying to run same example. What happened? Maybe it is, I think, the ASM related exception we are getting. Okay. So no problem. We'll build our application, and we'll try to run one more time here. Now if you observe, run on server. Now you can see here we are getting the login page here. So login with the username and password. So to get this particular login page here, what are the information we implemented? What are the information we implemented here? So first we need to go for the Spring-solid.xml here. Here we provided with the security auto configuration true, and we are providing the intercept URL here. So for this particular intercept URL, we are having some role here. And finally, we are making the form login. And if everything is successful, we are making the logout here. And here we are providing in-memory authentication here. So for example, if I want to copy the username here, so username and password here, when we are connecting into our application here. If the username password is wrong, so we are going to get a different acceptance information here. Okay, so these are the configuration we implemented in our XML configuration. But if you see here, we are not adding any information, just we are adding the particular starter here, security starter we added here. Now, what you are understanding here, whenever we are adding this particular security starter here, basically it will try to provide the the particular more information like what we need to understand here, the auto configuration here, name of the auto configuration, what is that? So web security, web security configuration. No. So now you can see security auto configuration. So what are the auto configuration we are having? And on top of this particular security auto configuration, what are the information we are having here? So first we are having configuration annotation. So we also provided in the earlier section configuration annotation, because the configuration annotation will contain the security related configurations here. And here we need to understand the security properties. So what are the security properties we are having? Getting the point. So this is the security properties class we are having here. And here, so filter related information and name, the password we are going to get here with help of this particular, so random UID, we are going to generate the password here and name here. So the name and role, these are the roles is created inside this particular class called security properties. And how we are going to making here, Spring.security. If you want to provide any explicit configuration, so we need to work with a prefix called Spring.security. Getting the point. So this is the particular properties we identified here. And so back to here we are having the configurations here. Basically now you can see we are having import annotation. So import annotation, what is doing here? Whenever we are trying to inject this particular class, so along with this we can inject these three classes as well. Now if we want to understand here, this is the Springboard web security configuration, and now you can see web security enabler, this particular configuration, so data configuration. Now we need to understand these three classes first. So what exactly the information we are having here? Now you can see if you are having the basic authentication here, now what we are doing here, so we already identified HTTP security. Getting the point. So any request, if I'm going to get any request here, it needs to authenticate it, and we are having form login, and we are having HTTP basic here. So it's nothing but we are making HTTP basic authentication. How we are adding here? So here the HTTP here. Getting the point. And form login here. So these are the same information we are having here. But here only the difference here. If I'm going to get any request, here, so all the requests we are going to authenticate it. So without providing the username and password, we are unable to enter into the application here. So this is the default authentication they provided here. Getting the point. Now, so back to here. So this is indicating here Spring Security web configuration here. Now we need to understand what is the information we are having. So Spring Security enabler configuration. Here we don't have any information here. Basically, so they're just checking the some conditions here, and here we are having enable web security. So the enable web security is which is coming from the Spring only. We already implemented this particular enable web security. and other than this we don't have. So web enable web security class, and here it is a annotation. Now you can see it is a annotation. So enable web security. Getting the point? So this particular annotation, it needs to identify, it needs to available in our web security, like in the class path here. Getting the point? So this is, we need to understand the configuration here. So and now you can see if this particular bean is missed. Getting the point? If the bean is missed from our class path here, we are going to create this particular class called web security enabler configuration. So what is the bean ID we are having here? So Spring Security Filter Chain. So now you can see Spring Security Filter Chain. So where we implemented here in our web.xml, now you can see, so we are having Spring Security Filter Chain. Getting the point? So this section of code we already implemented in our XML configuration. The same thing we are getting from the here. If this particular bean ID is equals to Spring Security Filter Chain, the bean is missing here from the class path. We are having an option to create this particular class. So otherwise, we are not going to create this particular class. And so what is the information we are having? So Spring Data Configuration. Now if you see, if I'm going to enable this particular class here, so most of the time here we are having security evaluation context extension here. Now we need to focus on the particular class here. The particular class. So if this particular class, what are the information we are having? So now we don't have why we are not having. Okay, so let's see if I'm going to click F3 where it. Okay, so maybe whatever the selection code we are provided, it is not enabled here, which is coming from the data repository query security repository. Okay, maybe the class is not available here, and based on this particular class, if the class is on the class path, so we are creating the particular context extension here. Getting the point? So we don't have much information. So to find out the information, we don't have a source to look into the particular class. What are the information we are having, right? The basic information we identified whenever we are trying to work with the web security enable here. Now, what is the basic authentication we are getting here? So any request we are going to receive from our application, all the requests are going to authenticated here. Getting the point? So this we need to understand here. Okay, now we identify the basic configuration here. Now what we can do, I need to override here. I don't want to make the basic authentication here. So I want to exclude some fields here. I want to exclude some fields here. So how we can exclude those fields here? So to work with this particular application, now what we can do, we'll create one more class here. We'll create one more class here. So what is the name of the particular class we can provide? So it's nothing but, so security inside this particular security package, I want to work with the security config. Now, whenever I'm trying to work with this particular security config here, we need to extend from the particular class call. So web security. Okay. What happened? So why we are getting? Okay. And here, so the particular adapter class we need to extend here. So we already discussed in the previous sections here. Compilation unit. So I'm wondering. So what happened here? Okay. So I'm not sure, like this class is not saving here. Okay, let me close this particular class where we need to save. Okay. Anyway, some class is not yet saved properly. No. What happened? Okay. Maybe it is having some issue. Okay, no problem. Now it is saving. So back to here. Now what we will do, extends here, web security configure adapter. So why I'm extending this particular class here? If you observe carefully, this particular class, we are going to have some methods here. If I'm going to give control space here, now you can see, so we are having, so some methods we are having here. Now what are the methods we are going to override here? Something called, so configure methods here. Getting the point. The configure method we are going to override here. Now you can see, first we'll override this particular configure method. So the same configure method we identified in the auto configuration here. I don't want to work with the super here. And now what I want to write here, so HTTP authorize request here. Getting the point. So this particular authorize request here, now what I will do, I'm going to work with any matches here. So for example, so these are the some URLs I want to provide the permission here. So what are the URL I want to provide here? And here, this particular ant matches here, slash, I want to work with a login. Getting the point. For this particular login, I want to provide permit all. So that the login is going to permitted here. And here, and any request here, okay, maybe. So any request. This particular any request here, what we can do, so we need to authenticate it. So other than this particular login, we need to authenticate it here. And what I want to write here, form login. Getting the point. And so login page I want to provide. So this is the particular request I'm going to give as a login here. And for this, I want to permit here. And logout dot permit all. So this is the basic information I want to provide. Other than this particular login, I want to, what I need to write here, I want to make the authenticated here. Okay, so we implemented this. Now what we can do here, we already identified here. So we need to work with the configuration. Now you can see how many conditional beans we are having here. So based on our requirement, we can go for the each conditional beans. So most of the conditional beans already we discussed here. So conditional missing bean, conditional on class, conditional annotation, okay, conditional on Java. So based on the particular Java version, we can provide the appropriate class here. Okay, now I want to work for the configuration, and after configuration, now what we can do, we can go for the So enable configuration properties. We need to work with this particular annotation, enable configuration properties here. And after this, the particular annotation we need to write. So enable web security. So to work with this particular enable web security, now what I need to write here? So conditional on bean. So conditional on class here, not bean here. Here, the class we are going to provide as a dot class file here. Now, if you see here, what is the annotation class we are having? Enable web security. Enable web security here. So this is the conditional class. And here, so just now we discussed here, let me identify the web security configuration. So web security configuration here. So this is not the so this is the static class here, security filter chain. Okay, so basically this class is different here, but now what I need to write here, conditional on bean. So what is the bean? Sorry, conditional on bean, not conditional on bean. Missing bean. So conditional on missing bean here, we need to write here something called web security okay. So this is we need to provide here, and so these are the annotations are enough. Okay, one more conditional web application, it is required. Conditional web application. Okay, so what is doing internally? Okay, enum types. Okay, right, maybe. So this is also we need to work here. So default type any. Now you can go for the any here. Let me make this particular conditional web application here, because it is a web application we need to provide, right? Now we added this the basic configuration, but so we understand we are making the security on the request here, but how we can compare with the values here. So once the login page is loaded, so we want to connect with the username and password here. So those information also we need to identify here. So to identify this particular information, now what we will do, we'll try to connect with our application, something like private, so user detail service. So this is the user detail service we are having. For this class, we'll make as a autopilot. Right, so we'll use this particular class later, and the another one we need to work with so password encryption and decryption. So to work with this particular password encryption and decryption here, now what we can do, so bcrypt here, bcrypt password encoder, We created the object. Now on top of this particular bean, make as a bean annotation. Right. Now here what we can do, we need to work with the Authentication Manager here. So to work with this particular Authentication Manager, now what we need to write here? So here we need to define the Authentication Manager information here. So anyway, now first what we need to write. Here one more object I am going to provide. Because if this particular application is connected, so what are the user they are going to communicate here? So reader related like application we implemented so far here. Now we need to work with the same reader related configuration here. Same the reader related configuration here. So to work with this particular reader related configuration, now what we can do? So let me save this example first and go to the model class. I want to create one class called reader. I'm creating a reader class here, and this particular reader is going to implement from the user details. User details here, and we'll try to implement the all the methods which are coming from the user detail interface here, and the same way we'll provide the some default serial version UID, and finally now what we can do, we'll go for the entity here, and table. We are going to create the reader table. Now what are the properties we are having here? Here I want to make username and full name, password. Right. So these are the three fields are enough here. On top of this particular user, okay. So instead of making this, we can go for the ID, and we'll work with the generator status reader ID. We are going to generate with the help of the sequence here. Getting the point, and we'll create the all the columns here. So I don't want to provide any name of the column here. Only the simple column if I'm going to provide here. So based on the particular property, the columns are going to created in database here. Okay, now we created. Now what I will need to write here. Here I want to generate the setters and getters for this particular four fields. Like so far, what we are having here. Get ID, set ID, full name, and username and password. Getting the point. So this is we provided here. And after setting this, so these are the user details methods. Getting the point. Now what we can do here, we need to create the user related information. Basically here we are expecting collection. So the type call granted authority. So it needs to extend it from the granted authority here. Okay, now to work with this particular granted authority, what we can do, so arrays dot as list here, granted authority is the interface, and simple granted authority is a implementation class, so which is expecting role here. So the role I want to provide as a reader. Getting the point. And so the remaining get password. So to return this particular password, we can provide the password here, and so username we can provide here. So instead of returning null, and is authentication expired, we'll make true. So all the boolean values we can make true here. Getting the point. So just for understanding our example we are making here. So sorry. So based on your requirement, you can make it true or false here. Right? So these are the information, some methods are coming from the user details and some of the method we provided for the reader class. Okay, now we created the reader class here. Now what we can do here? Now basically we created the basic the configuration class, and we created our configuration signed up model class here. But now what I need to write here, we need to work for the security service related information. So what are the service we provided here? Where is the service here? Okay, so far we did not created any service here. Now what I will do, I will create this particular one more package. Security service. Getting the point. So inside this particular security service here, now we'll create one security service interface here. We'll try to work with authenticated and auto login here. So otherwise, first what we will do, simply we'll try to return the login page, and directly we connect with user detail service here. So first we'll see with the help of this particular user detail service class here. So this is the best way to implement here. Later we can check with user detail service IMPL, like security service IMPL. User detail service IMPL class I'm creating here, and which is implementing from the, so what is the class called? User detail service. And here we are having one method. We'll try to connect with a method call load by username here. Now here we need a private. Okay, we are making the user repository. I think we are already having the repository in the DO module. So reading list repository. Okay, now we'll create the user repository. And let me create a interface here. So this is the interface we are going to create, and we'll extend from the JPA repository, and here reader long ID. But now auto void. So we'll see what are the methods we are having here. So find all, find by. So we are not going to work with these are the methods here. Now we'll create a method inside this particular interface. Here also we are getting the same find all here. Basically, I want to define find by find by username, and this particular method we are making, and here we are going to get as a reader object. we are going to get as a reader object. And with the help of this particular same here, now what I'm doing here, so find by username, we are making reader, right? So reader we are getting here. So once we get this particular reader, now what we will make here, reader equals to null. So we'll throw an exception. Username not found exception. Okay, some message. Right. So if the condition is not satisfied, now what we will do? So we'll try to work with like object information here. So instead of returning, simply reader. Simply we'll return this particular object here. Getting the point. So these are the reading list. The user detail service IMPL we implemented. Now what we can do, this particular class we are going to work with in our configuration. So where is our configuration? This. And here we are implementing user detail service. So if you observe carefully, basically this is an interface here. Getting the point. So this is our interface here. And where we created the implementation class, this is we created our implementation class. Now you can see user detail service. The same user detail service you are using here. Now what we are going to write here inside this particular the security config class here will connect with one more method here, something called Authentication Manager builder here. So this particular Authentication Manager builder, instead of super class, what we will do, so auth dot user service here. Now you can see the user detail service. The user detail service we are going to provide as a user detail service, and here we are going to work with password encoder. So what is the password encoder we are going to work here? So BC crypt password encoder we are going to work here. Getting the point. So these are the main configuration we are going to provide here for this particular authentication here, and authentication manager we are going to work for the superclass functionality. Now these are the main configuration we created. First, what we will do, we'll return the login page here. So return this particular login page here. We'll go to the reading list repository class here. So resource class we created here, and here now what I want to write here. So public string here login, and return login, right? And here now what we can do, here we need to provide the login here. Let me remove this, and finally inside this particular template, what I need to write here, I want to define one file called login.html. Login.html we need to define here. I want to copy the basic section here. And here, so login details. I'm not writing much code here. Just we need to see whether this particular login details is going to provide or not. So now if you see, we are getting an exception, no property username fund for this particular reader. So could not create a query for public abstract method reader. Find username. Okay. The name of the method we provided as a wrong here. Username here. Now you can see, so the table are dropped and recreated here. Now, so what we can need to understand here, the particular table is created, HB reader. Now this, we'll go to here. Full name, password and username, ID. The table structure is created. Now what we can do, if I'm going to work on this particular application, so login details. Getting the point. Login details. So where we provided this particular login details here? Here inside this particular HTML, we are getting this particular login details here. Now what you are understanding here? So basically here, inside this particular security configuration here, we provided only for this particular login permission. And other than this, we make any other request here, we are authenticated here. So once authenticated only, we are giving an option to enter into our application. So if you see carefully one more time here, I'm not giving a login here. So here I'm giving test here. Now if you observe, it's moving into the login here. So why it is moving into the login here? Because the default login page we are expecting here. Now what we need to write here? So we need to define the login credential here. So to define the login credential, now what we can do here? We'll go to the we'll take help from the Google to find out the login page here. Okay. Now here, so Timelift login page. So we need some login page here. For this, I want to copy from Google instead of writing manually. So so these are the something. Otherwise, we can go for the anything, and we'll try to copy this entire login page here, and change here. But based on our requirement, we need to change the login files here. Here, I don't want to provide more information here. So this is all about the Timelift here and HTML. So metadata will keep as it is. So here they are making bootstrap related information. Okay. So if you need, we can make as it is here. And here we are having one image here. Basically, they're trying to load the image here. So present, we don't have any image inside this particular image folder here. Now what we can do, we can comment out this particular div section. Okay. And finally, so back to here, once we click on this particular submit here, we are moving into the login here. But here we need to change here login process. Login process. Right. And finally, now what we will do, okay, we'll keep login only because login process we did not give the permission. So danger, something like a exception related message we are getting. So log out here. These two section of code I want to comment out. So simple login page we need. Input type, username, and the placeholder username. And we are having so required here. Password will keep as a password here. And finally, so what we can do, we can go for the full name. So basically full name we cannot use here, but okay, we'll keep as it is. So this particular primary section and save. Something we are getting an error. Okay, now let me refresh here. Okay, it is not loading. Application is started. Sorry, getting 500 error. We need to understand here why we are getting this particular 500 error. Something we are missing here. So message. Okay, something like a message they are using cannot be found null here. Property of field message, where we are using the message. No. Username, password, and remember me, submit. Okay, so here we don't have any message here. Anywhere they are making any message? No. Let's see. String expressions like a message. Okay, this, okay. String expression language call security last message. Will remove. So let me refresh this. Now you can see we are getting a login information here. So username and password here. So present basically we don't have any username and password in our database here. Let's see username and password where, and I'm trying to click on login here. We are getting error here. So it's moving into the login error page here, right? So it is not accessing our application here. Now what we need to write here. So to access this particular username and password, first we need to insert some data here. Basically, these operations, how we can make here, we can give an option here. So if the username password is not available, so instead of remember me, now what we can do, we can click on one more action call. So create your account, and here we can provide the username and password here. So with help of this particular functionality, we can enable here. Right, now you can see here they are selecting the username and password. Here they are selecting the username and password based on the user. So we'll try to identify. Okay, so we'll implement one more logic here. So instead of adding, so reading list. Now what we can do, So create one more page here. Register. And here, now what I will need to write here, register. And okay, so instead of doing this first example, so is there any way to insert the data? But the password encoder, again we are going to get an A. So problem here. Okay. Now, so this is also I need to give an a permission. For these two, I want to get an a permission here. And now what I will do, I will try to copy the same information. So register.html and register. Reader account here. So username and password here. And I want to provide one more here, something called full name. So how we provide full name here? Okay. Right. And click on submit. Here we need to go for the like register and where is our reading list resource. Now what I need to write here, register process. Here we need to make as a post here, and so we'll keep the same register here with the help of this particular reading list repository and BC script also, right? Security config. Reading list and why we are getting this dot. So basic is password and right. So now so how we can convert this particular password here. To convert this particular password here, security service auto login. So encode password, and here reader. Password. And so what we are getting here? So encoded password we are getting. And so here we cannot work with the reading list. Again, we need to create private. So what is the repository we created? User repository. So user repository. This dot user repository, user repository. Back to here, with the help of user repository, we need to save reader. And so what is the page we can provide? Something called login. And inside this particular login, I want to provide the anchor tag. How we can provide the anchor tag here? href here. What is the password we can provide here? Register. Basically, okay. Now we created register, and the register will load, and we'll go for the register here, full name, and submit. Okay. Now we'll try to start the same application here. Let's see. So it is saved successfully. Now we're moving into register. Let me click on register. So here we are having register reader account here. What is the username we are having? So username, password I want to give her, password only, full name, something called reader 1. Let me click on this particular login. Now what you are understanding here? So we are trying to work with a login page here. So here now you can see insert into reader. Getting the point? Insert into reader. So it's nothing but the data is saved into the database. So we'll go for the what is a table called reader. Here we are having the reader. Click on here. So full name. Full name we are having reader. So password we encrypted and username. Getting the point. So this is the record is created. Now we are backing into the login page here. So what is the username we are having here? Username and password. Now I'm trying to click on login here. Now what you are understanding here? So after login, where we want to show? Getting the point. After login, so where we want to show, we did not provide the information here. So because of this, the particular exception we are getting. But now, if you see here, we are not getting any exception. In the console, now you can understand here. So there is no exception. Just these are the SQL queries we are having here. Just we are having SQL queries here. Getting the point. Now, what we need to write here? Here, what we missed here? Basically, here we need to define the inside our security configuration after processing here. Getting the point. After providing the username password properly, where we need to go to the that we need to provide here. Go to the security configuration, and here after login, here I want to provide so default success URL. Default success URL. I want to move on to the here. So where we can move something like home. Let's see. So what we implemented here slash reader. The reader we are providing dynamic value, and so we cannot work with the same dynamic value. Okay. Okay. Basically, here we can provide the success URL. So this success I'm going to implement here. So register string here. Now what we can do, return slash we did not provide it, right? Okay. Okay, but here, so along with this, now what we can do, we can provide slash here. Value. Not taking here. So otherwise, so instead of doing this directly, we can return this. Okay, save all the examples here. Now we'll try to start one more time. Sorry. So data is again removed here. Instead of create, we can go for update here. So the table structure is recreated. Now if you see, so there is no data here. Okay. Now click on login page. Click on register. So username, password, and full name. So we'll try to give the same reader one here. We'll go for the username and password. Click on login. Oh, what happened here? So the default success URL, it is not coming here. We provided same here. Okay. So we can work with the reading list here. Book is also loading. Okay. Maybe from where this particular book is coming. Okay. Success. Find the reader. So we can work with the reading list. So what happened? Okay, no problem. So we'll try with the debug mode here, whether we are having the request is coming to here or not. Okay, application is started. Now we'll log in one more time. So username and password. Okay. So it is not coming. The default login page here. Somewhere it is moving. Okay, let's see. Login processing is custom login. Maybe we'll go for the same. So line number 35. No, so we cannot make. So we don't want to change the existing functionality, but with help of the existing functionality only, we need to write here. Basically, it needs to work here. Now we'll try with one more time here. Username and password. Okay. Login processing again. Now observe. So what we are doing here, we'll try to run our application one more time here. So login page is coming because the session is closed here. Password. I'm clicking login here. Now you can see login page is received here. So what is the operation we are providing here? Now we need to understand here. So it is the success URL. So whenever we are receiving this particular success here, we are moving into the reading list here. Getting the point? The username password is successful and the success URL is identified. So the page, like a reading list page, we are trying to returning here. Okay, now you can see whenever we click on this particular reading list here, now what happening internally? So we are trying to load here. So what is the name of the reader we are getting? The name of the reader what we are getting here. So this is the different here. So have icon. So based on this, we don't have any records here. Now if you see, list of records are empty. List of records are empty here. So because of this, so we are getting the list of records are empty. Success here. Okay, so what happened? Why the previous object is not loaded here? Now the success is coming here. Now you can save the data with help of this particular success. Again, we are getting 403. Okay. Okay. So because of this, we are getting multiples here. It is getter method. Okay. Where is our the particular page called reading list application here? What is a submit button what we are using here? Method post we are using. Okay, we'll try to work with action here. So th action will implement here. So based on this, we can write the code here. So now what we need to write here, we'll change this particular reader here. Okay, so to work with the reader, based on the reader, we don't want to load. So we'll try to load all the objects information here. So far, whatever we are having here, we'll try to load all the objects here. Okay, terminate here. Finally, here we need to provide the particular reader name here. To work on this particular reader, okay, we'll go for the reader. Okay, now, so what you need to understand here, here we need to work with the reader here. So to work with this particular reader, where is the file? Reader list. Here, th colon action. Now what I need to write here, reader slash register, right? Okay, now title, description, and provide the input for reader, reader. Okay, some exception we are getting. So there is already reading resource being. Okay, somewhere we are having slash. So not 44, like the last we implemented one more. So request mapping here. So because this, we are getting an exception. Okay, now application is started. Now what I want to write here. So without the success, I want to click here. Login is we are getting. Maybe password. Login. Now you can see. So present, no description is available, and there is no information. Getting the pen. So because in the book table, so no data here. What we can do, we'll try to add a book here. Reader, something called reader 1. Okay, now click on submit here. Okay. So URL, it is not taking properly. Slash, it's working fine. Instead of redirecting here, redirect to slash, we can go for it, right? Something like a reader we load and a select object. So why we are selecting an object here? It is wrong. Okay, so we'll put a breakpoint here. Something is happening here. Let me run with a debug as application. Okay. Okay. When we click on this, again, we are trying to load. Okay. So reader login we are getting here. So we are getting a reading list. Now, so reading list is providing. What we implemented. So we are having books here. Author. Okay, here we are. I'm not defining author. So because of this, the information is not defining. Okay. So now what we will do, we'll create a one more record here. Let me click on submit. Okay, the request is not moving. Why the request is not moving? So method post we made and action. Sorry. Yeah, the action we need to give as a th. Th action we need to give. And after we can define the author. And so ID we don't need. Password. Now you can see all the information we are getting. All the particular information what we are expecting here, all of the information we are able to find out here. Getting the point. So this is all about the simple example with security also we implemented, and initially what exactly we provided. So those information also we are adding here. Getting the point. So any questions regarding this particular Spring security with our Springboard? Okay. So if we don't have anything here, so tomorrow we'll try to check with the API, like a REST API related example, how we can communicate with a postman to send in a request and to get the objects here. And finally, so we'll try to find out the Architecture framework, which is introduced in the Springboard. And so we'll try to check with the banner related information. So how we can work on the banner related information. So these are the topic we are going to discuss in tomorrow. So most probably, if everything is successful, we'll try to complete the tomorrow Springboard, and we'll try to continue. So like microservices on Monday onwards here. Getting the point. So this is all about the agenda of like what we are going to discuss. No. So basically, I'm not getting your voice here. Okay. So we'll continue tomorrow.